right, good day, everybody. Welcome to stretch class. Today I would like to spend some time talking about cervical and thoracic mobility and flexibility and control, all that good stuff, and kind of how they all interact with each other, including the shoulders and shoulder blades. So we're going to start off with some basic movements of the cervical vertebrae or the neck. All right. So I want to start off with just some protraction and retraction of the neck. And what protraction and retraction is it's a forward and a backward movement of the whole neck. In order to do this properly, you have to think about kind of first sitting up straight and anchoring down those knees, making sure that you're balanced on your butt, elevated on a relatively high surface, just to make it more comfortable for me. You can be on the floor or on a chair, whichever. So we're going to start with some protraction, where you jet the head forward.
What is this? I gotta get a picture.
If you notice, I haven't tilted my chin up or down. My whole head just goes forward. And then retraction,
Oh my God.
tucking the chin backwards.
What is this one?
All right.
All right.
This is flexion. Protraction
All right. 5.
is extension. All right. So it's protraction and retraction of the head, but in the spine, you're going to see some flexion of the cervical vertebrae here and extension of the cervical vertebrae here. All right. Let's try it a few more times. Retraction. Here you should feel a stretch behind the head, in the back of the neck, and protraction. You might feel a little strain or activation in the front part of your neck. All right. I'm going to turn to the side so that we can look at this from the side, so that you can see that I'm attempting to not move my shoulders and back and spine, and I'm trying to keep them stable. All right, so I've sat up nice and straight, elongated my spine to the ceiling. I'm keeping my gaze forward. I'm not tilting my chin up or down. It's in that neutral position. And we're going to do 5 more here. Protraction. Try not to pull the shoulders back too. Just the head. And retraction. Protraction. Retraction. Let's go 3 more. Breathe. Protraction. Retraction. Notice I'm also not shrugging my shoulders up or down. I'm just trying to keep everything else stationary. This is just a cervical spine movement. And during this, I'm observing what I'm feeling. Good. All right, so that's some protraction, retraction of the head, which is done through flexion, extension of the spine. All right, now I want to go to some side-to-side movements of our head. So this is quite difficult for a lot of people, including myself, and I'm actually decent at it moving one side, but not so good at it moving the other side. So it's going to look like this. Moving the head to the right, moving the head to the left, moving the head to the right, moving the head to the left. So how do we figure out how to do this? One, it's very beneficial to do this in the mirror. But if we don't have a mirror today and you have a camera that you can set up to watch yourself do it, that's also beneficial. But you're going to take your thumb and your forefinger and you're going to put it against the side of your head, kind of on your temple and your chin. And then the other one on your temple and your chin, right? Try not to protract or retract excessively. Just hold that head neutral. Let's space the fingers out about 1 inch each way. And let's try to go to the right. If I did that correctly, both the temple and the chin would hit my forefinger and my thumb at the same time. Let's go to the left. Temple, chin, hit the thumb and forefinger at the same time. Lateral shift. Lateral shift. Keep going. Do about 3 more. Lateral shift. Lateral shift. All right, nice, slow, controlled. You should feel stuff in the neck moving. A lot of deep tissues are helping to do this action. And we are very much moving the cervical vertebrae, right? So that's lateral shift. Those are some movements that we tend to forget about, right? So now, if we connect them in a circle pattern, what do we get? Well, first, let's connect them in a square pattern, all right? So let's go protraction, lateral shift, right, retraction, lateral shift, left, protraction, lateral shift, right, retraction, lateral shift, left. We can use our thumbs, protraction, lateral shift, right, retraction, lateral shift, left. And once you kind of get the groove going, you can kind of make this into a circle. And reverse it. Good. Rest. All right. So those are some controlled movements of the neck that we definitely all lose the ability to do. And if you notice, for me, it's much harder for me to shift to my left than it is to my right. And all of this goes back into the shoulder stuff I've mentioned a few times during this class. It's partially bicep tendonitis, partially scapular dyskinesia, partially neck and nerve stuff that I'm working on. So if we get through all this, we'll make our way back to the neck and kind of expand from there. All right. So that's some rotations of the neck. Those are not controlled articular rotations. That's kind of a shifting rotation that we learned from the Ito Portal method. Now we're going to use a controlled articular rotation, which is from the FRC or kin stretch method, which is a little bit different. All right. And we've worked on these before, so we'll move a little bit faster through these. So if we go retract and tuck, so we're ultra flexing the neck as far down as you can. And then glide the chin, keep retracting as far as you can get it. Turn the ear down towards the back.
all the way across to the other side. Enjoy the sensation of the stretch that you're feeling. No closing angle joint pain. If you do, just back off. Turn that chin down. Good. So we just did one car in one direction. I just want to backtrack to something that I felt. So I said, I have trouble shifting to the left, which means the tissue over here does not contract properly, right? Stuff on this side isn't working right. So I'm having trouble pulling that way. When I go to stretch stuff over there, here, I'm like this. And this feels ultra tight. So it is just more insight, more data points for me to use to figure out some more neck stuff and what I can be doing to make it healthier. All right, let's go car the other way. Let's retract and tuck, creating some flexion in the neck, and then flex again, all the way down, chin to chest. Rotate, gliding that chin across the clavicle as far as we can get it. Breathing. It's a big stretch for me. It's a lot, so I backed off a little bit just so I can handle it. And I'm breathing, taking my time through there. Going slow, trying to enjoy the sensation of that deep stretch, which is very difficult. Good, we just did one car in the other direction. So for me, I can definitely feel my upper back working. My upper back muscles working to kind of keep me upright. And this is something I've been working on the past few weeks because I've noticed my thoracic spine has some trouble extending and flexing. All right. So now that we just did some neck stuff, I want to get into some thoracic spine stuff with the neck stuff. So we're going to lie down on our back. Okay. Tilt my screen down a little bit. All right. So we'll be on our back. And we'll talk again about some neck stuff first, right? So I want everyone's arms here for now. Actually, let's put them here. Let's start by the neck, all right? So when we lie on our back, we have a tendency to turn our chin up. So the gap between the sternum and the chin is wider than what neutral is. See if you can make that neutral. And this is kind of a tough position to hold, all right? From here, I want to see if we can get the gap that is between the neck and the floor. Let's see if we can make that disappear. And all we do is chin tuck down. Notice if your spine starts to move. I don't want your lumbar spine to move. I don't want you to go into posterior tilt or even more anterior tilt to do it. Just keep that lumbar spine neutral and lightly, everything is light. These neck muscles are not used often, and it makes them, in that sense, more susceptible to like quick injury if you move into things fast. So since we don't use our neck muscles like we should, we don't move them enough since we stare at a computer all day, take everything today very slowly. All right, so retracting the head, trying to get the back of the neck into the floor again. That's number 2. Relax. And retracting the head. Number 3, relax. All right. So now let's see if we can do this kind of with the whole upper back. All right. But in order to do this, I want to move our shoulder blades out of the way. So that's why I'm going to put my arms up here. All right. Take note of where your spine sits right now. Your lumbar spine or your lower back has a normal curvature to it. Let's keep it like that. Don't press it down. Don't arch it off more. Just keep it neutral. Let's make sure we're facing straight at the ceiling. Make sure chin and sternum are neutral distance away, not extended head. Arms are up, and we're going to protract those shoulder blades to get them away from the floor. And now we are going to try to push the back of the head and the back of the upper back into the ground. Breathe. Don't use a ton of force. This should be about 30% of maximal contraction. And we're just learning what this feels like. Try not to elevate the shoulder blades, try not to depress them, just protract them and relax. All right, another thing you can think of is that your sternum is pushing down into the floor where your chest is kind of collapsing. All right, let's try it again. Exhale. Start to flatten out. Breathe. Keep that lumbar spine neutral. My legs are also active here. I'm using a lot of muscle to try to push that spine flat. And relax. All right, so I'm activating a bunch of stuff, irradiation to help stabilize, trying to send more energy up to this thoracic spine and neck that we are trying to figure out how to flex and push into the ground. All right, here we go. Last time. It'll help if you reach and protract even more. Push that upper back into the floor. Squeeze a little bit more. Push, breathe. And relax. Good. All right. So we just did some flexion of the thoracic spine and in conjunction with the cervical spine. I want to try to go into a kneeling or standing position to you. I'm going to go kneel just so you guys can see me. And that's better. All right. I'm going to try and do the same thing that I did with my neck, right? This lateral shift to retraction, protraction with my thoracic spine. So let's see, can I push that spine forward? Come back to neutral. All right. So we're all going to have a tendency to pull our shoulder blades back. To do that, try to avoid that. Think more of sternum gliding forward. And then sternum gliding backwards. Forward. Backwards. Forward. Backwards. 2 more. Forward. Backwards. Forward. Backwards. Good. Now let's try this lateral shift movement of the thoracic spine. So here we're going to take our fingers, put them kind of right on a line under our chest and right on a line kind of even with our nipples. Go out 1 inch. Shift to the right. Shift to the left. left, right. Try to push harder into those fingers. Left. Take note, I'm trying not to rock side to side. I shouldn't see any movement happening here. Let's keep going. Right, left, push, 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 push. Good. Now, from our vertebrae up here, our thoracic spine, let's try to go in a square. So it's going to be protract, right, retract, left, protract, right, retract, left, protract, right, retract, left. Let's see if we can circle it now. Good. So I definitely have to work on that. I can definitely feel my lumbar spine moving. I want to feel it more in the upper back. Let's try to go to the other way now. Protract, left, retract, right, protract, left, retract, right, protract, left, retract, right, protract, left, retract, right. Try to control this in a circle. And relax. So you can definitely work on that control of segments of the spine. Right. Last part I want to do with this thoracic spine is a thoracic spinal car. All right. So this is when we're going to try to do the same motion that we did with the cervical spine, just with only the thoracic spine. So I'm going to come to a tall kneel for this, and I'm going to put this in between my legs to try to squeeze it. All right. And I want my lumbar spine to stay neutral during this, and I want to focus just on the thoracic spine. All right. We're going to go rounding of that thoracic spine as much as we can. Rotating. Lateral flex. Extend. Go slow. Think about what you're feeling. Where are you moving from? Rotate across to the other side. Try not to let those hips turn. Drop the right elbow down. Round. Back to center. At the end there, I change my cervical gap, or the gap between my neck, or between my chin and chest. So try not to let that happen either. Reverse. Rotate. Try to keep that belly button facing forward. Lateral flex. Extend. Cross to the other side. Lateral flex. Rotate down to center. All right, so when you're doing that, you want to try to feel some stuff moving around the sternum, feeling your ribs move, right? It's not huge motions. It's not sexy. It is about control of a lot of little muscles that connect between the vertebrae. All right. So there we just did some isolated neck and upper back stuff. So here I want to go into a few passive stretches, then into some active stretches. So we're going to start by doing a thread the needle stretch. So I'm going to be on all fours, and I'm going to take my watch off for this one so I can time it. I'm going to be on all fours. We're going to take our right hand, slide it through, try to get the back of our head down to the ground. All right, we need to have our knees spread relatively wide here. And we have to try to get the little bump on the back of our head down to the ground. Almost like I'm trying to do a somersault over my left shoulder. And if I do this right, I want to feel a stretch in my left upper back or the left rhomboid area. I can also take my left hand and keep reaching towards the right. So here I'm creating this force where I'm almost about to go over, but I'm just stalling right here. And breathing is the hardest part of this position. Deep belly breaths. We're holding here for 2 minutes. We're a minute down. We have a minute left. We can think about using our right hand to push us deeper into that stretch. If you're feeling any neck pain, come on out of it. Now, as you breathe, you can try to breathe into that upper back. Long, slow, relaxing, deep breaths. And we'll slowly come on out of that. Good, so if you were doing that right, we're searching for kind of a stretch up here. Let's get into our other side. Same deal, we're doing 2 minute stretch. Right hand's going under. I'm going to try to tuck the head. Trying to get into that somersault motion. Thinking about the right arm reaching left. Breathing. Relaxing. I can use this right arm wherever is comfortable to help me push into the stretch. Take note of what your right shoulder is doing. It should feel relaxed here. We're about a minute into it. We got a minute left. Deep belly breaths. Try to breathe into that upper back. It's very easy to tense up here. Try not to. Good, in 15 seconds, we're going to come out of this slowly. Good. Shake that out. go into a reverse somersault stretch. So this stretch is quite difficult and quite intense. If you have any neck issues, I would suggest not doing this stretch. If you have a partner, I would suggest using your partner to help you with this stretch so you can get into it slowly. If you have a wall could help spot you during this. All right. I'm just going to show it the way that the intermediate way to do it. Also, if you have kind of a gut going on, I know when I have a few extra pounds on me, it's very hard to get into this stretch. It's also quite hard to breathe from this stretch, but it can be really good to help stretch out the lower trapezius muscle. So not your upper trap. The lower trap sits right at the base of your shoulder blades, and it can help stretch that out, and that's where we'd like to feel a lot of stretch. If your lumbar spine is really inflexible, you'll start to feel it there, or your hamstrings, you'll feel it there first, and that's okay. It just means spend some more time until your limiting factor becomes the lower traps and not the hamstrings or low back. And the reason I'm talking all this before I get into it is because I can't really talk when I'm in the stretch. We're going to hold it for 2 minutes. I'll try my best to show you guys. So it's going to start off with a reverse somersault. All right. And once we kind of get to about here, if we can steady ourselves out and make sure that our shoulder blades are depressed, our arms are reaching towards that wall, and the back of our neck is flexed and on the ground. I'm going to start my timer here. We are going to slowly let the knees start dropping to the floor on either side of our ear. Take your time. You have 2 minutes to relax into this. So we are in cervical flexion, certainly. Cervical flexion, certainly. It's getting more difficult to breathe here. Again, like I said, it's okay to feel it in the lower back first, but you should certainly feel stuff happening in the neck and the upper back. If you're doing this on a hard floor, it might not feel too great. I suggest as much cushion as possible. You can also think as you get deeper, peeling one vertebrae at a time off the floor, or putting one vertebrae at a time back on the floor. So with my legs being the weight that's trying to flex my spine, I'm going to try to put the upper back onto the ground. And that's going to create more pull from each side. We have 30 seconds left. Coming out of this stretch is quite important. It's got to be done slowly. Keep breathing. Keep rounding. You can do a few pals contractions here. And as we come out, one vertebrae at a time going down. Control it. And I'm immediately gonna flip over and go into a Cobra Stretch. And I'm just gonna start off on my arms. So I know a lot of people, when they do their Cobra Stretch, they think about extending the head and pinching the shoulder blades down the back and rolling them back. All right. I first want to focus on retraction of the neck and retraction of that cervical spine. So protraction of the shoulder blades assists that. And let's see if we can kind of flex that cervical and thoracic spine first. And then that should help us extend it. Breathe. Hold. No pinching behind the neck. No pinching in the lumbar spine. So I'm protracting and depressing my shoulder blades to try to encourage my thoracic spine to extend. At this point, if you're feeling really good, you can get up onto your hands. All right. So my lumbar spine is no problem extending. I've really been working on that thoracic spine extending. And I can actually just feel it more in my thoracic spine if I'm here. All right. So there's no shame in just working from where you feel the most stuff in the right area. And we'll come out of there nice and slow. All right. So when you are doing some of these focused stretches and movements, think about what your end goal is. Most people have no problem hinging from 1 or 2 points in their lumbar spine. They do have a problem hinging from their upper back, though. So if you can kind of lock that lumbar spine into place, hinging from the upper back is where the movement will come from at that point. I want to finish off with some segmental cat-cow. All right. And we'll work on control here. All right. So let's just start off with some normal cat-cow. And that's just going to be flexion. Breathe. And extension. So we've been talking about the shoulder blades a lot. Try to just keep them neutral as we extend. Breathe. Flexion one more time before we get into the segmental. Breathe. Extension. Breathe. All right, relax 1 second. Now our segmental cat-cow is the transition from the rounded spine cat position to the kind of concave, I always get those two confused, concave back position of the cow position, right? But we do that one vertebrae at a time, and there's 4 ways, all right? They're starting from the tailbone, moving to the head, and you can do that from rounded to arched or arched to rounded. And then they're starting from the head, going to the tailbone, starting from rounded, going to arched, or starting from arched, going to rounded. We're going to do all four here. Let's start from the cat position. And let's start by moving just the tailbone. Just the tailbone is extending. Everything else is flexed. And once I get there, I'm going to work my way up. One vertebra at a time. Making my way up to that thoracic. Making the way up to the cervical. Always breathing. All right, I'm in full extended spine. Let's make our way back to flexion, tailbone first. Tuck it underneath. This is a difficult one for me. Take it slow. Breathe. Good, we're back to fully flex. Rest for a second. That took a lot out of me. All right. And I still was kind of unsatisfied with it. I'll go back to the video and check it out. But just what I was feeling, I felt like I didn't do it quite as good as I had hoped. All right. It's okay. Practice every single day. All right. Here we go. Let's go back to flexion. These last two, we're going to move from the head first, or the cervical spine first. First, breathe. Get your good flex position. Make sure everything's fully flexed. Head first. We're extending that cervical spine. Fully. And now the thoracic. And now the middle thoracic. And upper lumbar. Lower lumbar. Tailbone. Let's start from the head one last time. Flex. And relax. Whew. Man, going nice and slow is a lot of control, a lot of focus, a lot of strength, a lot of flexibility, all that. But boy, does my spine feel great. And I also I felt like I didn't even do it to the best of my ability. So just intention behind movement plays a huge role. And this is something I'm very passionate about getting across. Have intention behind your movement. Try to move in all different ways, and you can never go wrong. Intentional, slow, controlled movement is going to be great. It's always going to leave you feeling great. Great work today, guys. Thanks for joining me today for this spine class. I will see you guys next week.
Hi, Steve. It's Debbie. What they say is anybody that protested should